There are only 7 quarterbacks that I could realistically see the Steelers bringing in to be their starting quarterback for the 2025 season this offseason. And today I'm going to be breaking down the pros and cons of each of these 7 quarterbacks, and I will rank them 7 to number 1 of my favorite in terms of the guys I would bring in to be the new starting quarterback of the black and gold for 2025. Welcome into the show, guys. I'm your host, Jack Sperry. Before we get into the content today, I'm going to be putting up a bunch of film analysis on all of these quarterbacks this offseason as the Steelers continue their search for the next starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So you guys can go ahead and give me a follow on X at Jack_Sperry. Also going to be putting out a bunch of draft content on there as well. And if you guys want short form content from us here at Steelers Talk on IG, you guys can follow our account on there at Steelers CS. So before we start today's video and I go over all these names and my favorites and my least favorite guys to bring in, I have 3 things I want to get out of the way. The first thing I want to say is that there's likely not going to be any perfect slam dunk options out there, right? You're not going to get a star level quarterback this year. And I've said it on the show multiple times, and this is thing number 2, no matter what quarterback the Steelers bring in, the run game and fixing that aspect of the offense is going to be more important for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason, at least in my opinion. I think that if you don't fix the run game, no matter what quarterback you bring in, it's just not going to be, it's just not going to be able to carry the offense without that element of the Steelers' game plan. And then number 3, I think that the Steelers are trying to win now. All right, so I don't think that they're going to trade up for a young quarterback. I don't think that they're going to draft a quarterback in round 1 like Jackson Dart, for example, to be the team's starter for 2025. Young quarterbacks really never win Super Bowls, and quarterbacks that are in their first playoff appearance usually never win Super Bowls. So the Steelers are trying to win now over these next 2-year period to try to get TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick, try to get those guys that have been with this team a long time a Super Bowl championship. So I do think it's most likely going to be a veteran option that they bring in next year. So here's what the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for in their starting quarterback, because they are trying to win and they are trying to win now. They're looking for an experienced playoff veteran. We talked about it, guys. Quarterbacks in their first playoff action almost never win Super Bowls, all right? They're also looking for a scheme fit with Arthur Smith, all right? Like Russell Wilson, for example, not the best scheme fit because he can't throw over the middle of the field past his first read. So I think this is going to be a very important one right here. Also, can that quarterback play in AFC North conditions? In the rain, in the snow, in the wind. You have to have a strong enough arm, and you have to be comfortable enough playing in the cold to play for this football team. Also, you need to be a high-end downfield passer. The way the Steelers want to play is a ground-and-pound run game, followed by the play-action deep shots. That's how the Steelers want to play. So if you can't throw the ball down the field effectively, they're not going to want you. And then somebody also that protects the football. They want somebody that is not going to throw too many interceptions, put the ball in harm's way too much. They want to dominate with defense. They want to protect the football, and they want to play that way. So without further ado, let's get into my least favorite quarterback target for the Steelers, and that is noodle arm Kirk Cousins at this point in his career. And we saw it last year with the Atlanta Falcons, guys, and this is why they're going to be moving on to Michael Penix. Cousins just doesn't have the arm strength anymore, and because of that, he's throwing a lot more interceptions. He's putting the ball in harm's way a lot more. Now, that doesn't mean there's zero positives with bringing in Kirk Cousins. He is an experienced veteran, so he brings that to the table, brings a leadership quality as well to the locker room. He is a scheme fit. He's played in West Coast-style offenses like Arthur Smith's throughout his entire career, so he'd technically be a scheme fit. Also, because the Atlanta Falcons are likely going to be cutting him and paying him a bunch of guaranteed money, he'd likely accept a contract for a vet minimum, just like the Steelers did with Russell Wilson this past season. But the case against Kirk, there's just too many big-time red flags for me. The arm strength is gone, which is leading to too many turnover-worthy plays because he's trying to fit the ball into windows he used to be able to fit it in, and now because his arm strength is gone, he's not able to fit it in those tight windows anymore. He also provides no mobility for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then the playoff track record is not what the Steelers are looking for at this point. Only 1 playoff win his entire tenure in the National Football League. Now, number 6, I think this is going to piss some people off, but, I do think that Justin Fields, if I'm looking to win a Super Bowl next year, Fields is not high on my list. And, the possibility of Fields turning into prime Cam Newton in his 5th season in the league, it's not impossible, but I would say it's very unlikely at this point. Now, what I will say is I do think the Steelers like Justin Fields. Mike Tomlin is clearly infatuated with his physical skill set, and it sounds like Arthur Smith likes him quite a bit as well. So I actually think the most likely scenario here is that the Steelers will bring in Justin Fields to be the QB1 next year, and then they'll bring in some sort of high-end veteran type of quarterback to back him up in case that he's a complete dud, so that the season's not completely over if Justin Fields doesn't turn into prime Cam Newton all of a sudden in his 5th NFL season. And I'm looking at Justin Fields as somebody that, he's got a lot of limitations as an in-structure playmaker. Now, I do think that there are positives with Fields. He does have that sky-high upside that we talk about. He's got the incredible rushing ability. He can throw from any platform or arm angle. He certainly has the arm talent, and he's got the size, certainly, to throw over the middle of the field. Also, it'd be his 2nd year in Arthur Smith's system, so, having a guy that's been in this system, he has that established chemistry with everybody in the locker room. That could certainly work, and then I do think you can get Justin Fields on an affordable deal, $10 to $15 million per season to be your starting quarterback next season. But like I've talked about, guys, on this show, kind of ad nauseum, the in-structure playmaking seriously concerns me after 4 years in the league, having that not being developed really at all since his time at Ohio State. Really needs to get better. He needs to have better vision, needs to have better accuracy, needs to have better timing, needs to have better a touch over the middle of the field as well and deep down the field, to be frank with you. He also holds the ball for too long, so the pressure is going to be higher with Justin Fields in there. And then the lack of playoff experience, I think, gives the Steelers close to a 0% chance at a Super Bowl championship next year if he's the starting quarterback. Now, the high-end backups that the Steelers could bring in to back up Justin Fields, guys like Jacoby Brissett, Andy Dalton, Tyrod Taylor would be kind of my top 3, but some other options, with strong arms, etc., Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco, Carson Wentz. I think that the most likely scenario here, guys, is that they sign Justin Fields and they're going to make him the franchise quarterback going into next year, and then they're going to sign a guy like Jacoby Brissett to back him up and be a high-end veteran just in case Fields is a complete dud. So you guys can see my full list of concerns and scouting report on Justin Fields in this video we put out earlier this week. I'll put the link to that one in the comments and description of today's show, so you guys can check that out whenever you guys get a second today. I really recommend you guys check out that video. So is this statement true or false? Let me know down there in the comment section. Justin Fields will win a playoff game as the starting quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers at some point in his NFL career. Let me know down there in the comment section for today's pinned comment. In just a second here, YouTube's going to throw you an ad break. When that happens, go ahead right now, find that pinned comment at the top of the comment section, and answer today's pinned question. Coming up here on Steelers Talk, I got my top 5 quarterback targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers that are realistic here heading into the 2025 offseason. But before we get into everything regarding my top 5 quarterback targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers, let's have a word from our sponsor today at Fume. And have you guys ever caught yourself reaching for a bad habit? Maybe it's that moment when you're with friends and you just want to feel like you fit in. Well, that's where Fume comes in. It's not about quitting. It's about finding a better alternative. Fume, the sponsor of today's video, has created an innovative flavored air device that's perfect for those moments when you want to break away from bad habits and still have something enjoyable to reach for. Fume is an award-winning flavored air device that draws flavor to your mouth, not your lungs. It's a great way to satisfy your oral fixation with non-toxic flavors, free from nicotine or vapor, and it's safe to use anywhere. Fume's design is also about more than just flavor. It's an awesome fidget tool with magnets and clicks to help calm anxiety. You'll love how Fume feels because it's made with premium quality, has sleek design, and is perfect for taking with you on the go. Physiology shows stopping a bad habit of cold turkey is very hard on your brain. Fume works by replacing your hand-to-mouth fixation, calming nervous tension through fidgeting, and distracting you from your bad habit with delicious flavor. Fume is also backed by doctors in the U.S. and continuously invests in third-party studies to ensure the safety of their products. Fume has already helped over 300,000 people build better habits. Try Fume today, and if you order the Journey Pack now using my code CHATSPORTS, you'll get a free Fume topper, an awesome accessory to level up your experience. Go to tryfume.com/chatsports or scan the QR code on screen. Thank you so much to Fume for sponsoring today's edition of Steelers Talk. So the number 5 quarterback on my list is Aaron Rodgers. And honestly, guys, I don't love the Rodgers option, all right? I think I'd rather have him over Fields because he does have the veteran experience. He's got the experience playing in cold weather. You could potentially bring in Davante Adams as this team's number 1 wide receiver next year because obviously they have that connection. He's technically a scheme fit. He's played in West Coast offenses under Matt LaFleur before, and that's the type of offense that Arthur Smith is trying to run here in Pittsburgh. And he still has some high-level arm talent as well that he showed off there in New York. Second half of the season with Davante Adams there in East Rutherford went a lot better for Aaron Rodgers than the first half of the season. But here are my concerns with Aaron Rodgers. I'm not sure if he's a culture fit. Jerry Dulac of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette says that Mike Tomlin and the Steelers have no intention of signing Aaron Rodgers this offseason. He's not on their radar. And I think part of the reason for that is his accuracy dropped off pretty significantly this past season in New York, which is something that seriously concerns me. He needs to get back that accuracy. I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to at this point. And then another major concern is that it's been the case for Aaron Rodgers his entire career that he doesn't work well with new wide receivers. He needs time to develop chemistry with his guys before he really thrives with them. And if he comes to another new team here in Pittsburgh and like the only receiver he has chemistry with is Davante Adams, I'm just not sure if he's going to be able to connect with guys like Calvin Austin III, Roman Wilson, and Pat Freiermuth, and even George Pickens heading into next year. So that's why I do not think Aaron Rodgers is the right answer here in Pittsburgh. I have him ranked number 5. Then number 4, Derek Carr. Now, you guys have heard me talk about Derek Carr. And I think on paper, I think the Derek Carr thing makes sense, all right? I think that he is a better fit for this offense than, say, like a Russell Wilson is. I do think that he would have that Davante Adams connection and bring him to the Pittsburgh Steelers, which would certainly be nice. He's got a ton of experience in the league. Some of his numbers were very impressive in New York or in New Orleans, I should say, this past year. I think he was top 10 in EPA per play. He was top 10 in big time throw percentage. He was top 10 in adjusted completion percentage. Like a lot of good stuff on Derek Carr's film from last year for sure. Plus, he's a great scheme fit, and I think you can get him on an affordable contract if he's released from the New Orleans Saints. So there's a lot of good things surrounding a potential Derek Carr signing here, but the thing that's really the deal breaker for me is that Derek Carr has been really, really bad playing in the cold in his NFL career. I mean, remember that time where he came to Pittsburgh on New Year's Eve playing against Kenny Pickett in that frigid game here at Acrisure Stadium? He was awful in that game, and he's been awful in cold weather games his entire career. Plus, he has like a hip flexor issue that keeps getting injured, so the injury concerns would be through the roof. And then, the lack of playmaking upside and the playoff track record where he's only made the playoffs, so he's only played in one playoff game in 11 seasons, certainly doesn't point to a guy that could lead this team to a Lombardi trophy. I do break down Derek Carr's game and why it could potentially be a fit here in Pittsburgh, especially if he brings Davante Adams to the Steel City in a video we made earlier this week. I'll put that video and the link to that one in the comments and description of today's video as well. So number 3 on my list here, Sam Darnold, Minnesota Vikings quarterback, kind of had a late season collapse. I think that the Vikings are going to try to tag and trade him this offseason. And the Steelers would probably have to give up, at very least, a day 2 draft pick to be able to get Sam Darnold as their starting quarterback. Now, there's things to like about Sam. All right, he's got good size. He's a scheme fit. The best thing that he does is throw the ball over the middle of the field, which is something I think Arthur Smith would really like. He's got the high-end arm talent. He was top 10 this year in big-time throw percentage. He can really make some high-level throws across the middle of the field. And then he can play in the cold. Like, he's been able to play in the rain, cold, whatever. He's got the arm to break through the wind. So he is a fit in that regard as well. But the case against Darnold, he holds the ball too long. Like, he holds it as long as Justin Fields holds the football, which is way, way, way too long. Averages over 3 seconds, per drop back, which is not good enough. And then, he does put the ball in danger too much. I think he was 31st in turnover-worthy play percentage this year. And that's the kind of stuff that Mike Tomlin really doesn't want in his starting quarterback. Also, can he handle the big stage? The 2 biggest games he played this year were his 2 worst games to finish out the season. He was pressured heavily in those 2 games, and he couldn't handle the pressure there. And then also, he's going to be the most expensive option. You're going to have to trade for him, and you're probably going to have to sign him to a long-term contract, and you're going to have to give him like $30 million per season, along with all the rest of these concerns that I have. So honestly, I don't know if Sam Darnold is a phenomenal option either. And honestly, guys, number 2 on my list here, I would personally take Russell Wilson over Sam Darnold, Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers at this point in their respective careers. And there's a number of reasons for that. You know, I do think that Arthur Smith is going to want to part ways with Russell Wilson just because he's not the best scheme fit for his offense. But I still think Russ could still be a great fit here in Pittsburgh if they deliver on the promises that they made to him when they brought him in. They didn't bring him in to be a savior, all right? They didn't bring him in to carry the offense and be the superstar level quarterback he was in Seattle. They brought him in to be kind of a secondary piece, to be under center, play action deep shots, deliver on a third down every once in a while, deliver on a game-winning drive every once in a while, and have the run game be the main engine of the offense. And that just didn't happen this year. The Steelers had a bottom 5 run game in all of football in 2024, and Russ was asked to be, you know, the one carrying the offense. And as he showed in Denver and in this past year in Pittsburgh, that's just not the type of quarterback that he is now. But, you know, he still has some very high-end traits, and there is still a very good case for bringing back Russell Wilson, at least in my opinion. He still has that great veteran experience. He's got a ton of playoff experience, and he's won a Super Bowl. He's been to 2. He's been in those big moments. He won't be afraid of those big moments. Number 2, he still has the high-end arm talent. He still has awesome ability to throw the ball down the field with touch and accuracy. He was the highest rated and he had the highest EPA of any quarterback in the league when throwing the ball down the field this year. Also, he's got great leadership qualities. He's an established locker room leader here in Pittsburgh. And then it would be his second year in the system, so I think he would grow in his second year in Arthur Smith's system. And then he's also very affordable. I think that the market is going to say, yeah, Russell Wilson's a $15 to $20 million per season quarterback. And I think that's a very affordable deal, especially compared to a guy like Sam Darnold, who'd you have to pay 10 plus more million dollars per season to be able to lock up. But the case against Russ, and there's certainly limitations with Russell Wilson. I'm not trying to say there isn't. All right, he is a lackluster playmaker. He is not going to be Danger Russ anymore, running around, making crazy plays like he did in Seattle. It's just not the type of quarterback he is anymore. And because he's so short, he's a limited processor after his first read, especially over the middle of the field. So because of that, he's not the best scheme fit for Arthur Smith's offense. And I think because of that, they're not going to bring back Russell Wilson. I think with bringing back Omar Khan, bringing back Mike Tomlin, bringing back Arthur Smith, somebody's head has got to roll here, and they can't just, I think that they feel they can't just run it back with all 4 of those positions heading into 2025, and I think Arthur Smith is probably going to insist on getting a bigger quarterback that can throw over the middle of the field. So the one guy that could be made available this year that I think could be a legit upgrade over Russell Wilson is Seattle Seahawks quarterback Geno Smith. All right, and of course, Geno took over for Russ in Seattle, and, you know, I think that it doesn't really make sense for Seattle to let him go this offseason. I do think, you know, they're probably going to bring back Geno for another season. They're probably even going to give him an extension just because his cap hit is so high heading into 2025. But, you know, I do think that there is still a slight possibility that they move on for a guy like Derek Carr, especially if they hire Clint Kubiak as their offensive coordinator, which seems likely at this point. But when it comes to Geno Smith and why I would take him over any other quarterback in this potential field is I think that he's got some of the most underrated arm talent in all of football. Same thing with his pocket presence. He can feel pressure at a really, really good level. He's had to overcome some really poor offensive line play there in Seattle the last several seasons, and despite that, he makes 2 or 3 throws a game that you say, how the hell did he even fit it in that window? I think that he'd be an excellent fit in this play-action-heavy offense. He's got the arm to play in the AFC North. I think that he is a scheme fit for Arthur Smith's offense, and I just think that his overall skill set would fit the parameters that the Steelers are looking for, man. Like, I think that he doesn't turn the ball over too much when he's clean, so hopefully the offensive line can keep him clean. I think that he's done a really good job playing in the elements in his career there in Seattle. He's got the arm talent to maybe even elevate this offense a little bit. Out of all the quarterbacks that could be got for the Pittsburgh Steelers this offseason, my ideal situation would be none other than Geno Smith. So shout out your guy down there in the comment section. Who's your guy? Who do you want to be Pittsburgh's QB1 in 2025? I know a lot of this fan base wants Justin Fields, so I'm expecting to see a lot of Justin Fields down there in the comment section. But let me know, would you want Geno? Do you want to bring back Russell Wilson? Do you like Derek Carr or Aaron Rodgers as options? Let me know down there in the comment section what you guys want to do at this position in 2025. And with that, that'll be at the end of today's edition of Steelers Talk, guys. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you haven't already, because we got more extensive Steelers content coming throughout the entirety of the 2025 offseason. And before I say goodbye here, I want to give another big thank you to our sponsor today at Fume. Thank you so much to Fume for sponsoring today's video. Scan the QR code on screen and use code CHATSPORTS to get your free Fume topper when you order your Journey Pack today.